Hey, what's going on, GameLeapers? This is Coach Iggs, and in today's video, we're going to be revealing the 10 most underrated low-key broken champions for patch 12.11, which will be hitting the Rift next week, so to make sure you get an edge on the competition, this video will be extremely useful, and some of these picks, honestly, might be giga broken when the patch actually hits. So if you can learn these, if you've already mastered these, you're definitely going to have the upper hand for 12.11. So of course, make sure you stick around for the whole video. We'll give you the rune pages, the builds, all that fun stuff. And if you do really want to master any of these champions, guys, make sure you check out the GameLeap website, description, comment section. You know the drill by now. Our challenger players and coaches will upload courses, guides, and high elo VOD analyses for any champion, any role on the Rift. I don't care what you play or what you main, we have the resources you need to peak on the Rift. So check those out, get that exclusive access by signing up, and let's get into the countdown. Now, there is no real order to this countdown. I'm just going to be going through 10 champions, and you guys can kind of guess who you think might be the best out of the ones we actually recommend. So let's start by talking about Irelia, and whether you play Irelia in the mid or top lane next patch, it looks a lot better for you, because Irelia is getting buffed herself, and she's also getting some indirect buffs in the form of items. So for Irelia, your Q's healing, it's going from 7 to 11% of your attack damage to 9 to 13%. So this is really useful. This is going to give you more sustain during the laning phase, and when you're split pushing in the late game, and your E's cooldown is also getting reduced. So instead of being 18 seconds to 12 seconds, it's now going to be 16 seconds to 12 seconds. So 2 seconds off, and you're not going to max this until the mid to late game. This is really nice. So you're going to have more kill threat during the laning phase because your flawless duet will be up more often. Now, what's also great for Irelia is the fact that Gore Drinker is getting buffed, so you're getting more ability haste for each major item you have. So this gives you scaling after your strong laning phase, which is nice. And then also Blade of the Rune King. This is giving you more lifesteal now, and even though it might still cost a lot of gold, it's going to be more worth it. So Irelia, she might be struggling at the moment, but next patch, because of these buffs innately and to her items, I think she's going to be in a lot better position, so watch out for her in 12.11. Now moving on, let's talk about Graves in the jungle, and some of you might think Graves in the jungle is OP, but the actual fact is that across the board, Graves' win rate really isn't that good unless you're challenger in Korea. But I've got a build here that's going to help a lot of you out, and this is actually Gore Drinker Graves, and this has kind of been played before, but because of the Gore Drinker buff I just mentioned for Irelia, I think it's going to be even better in 12.11 for Graves in the jungle. The only difference with this setup is that you have to run fleet footwork, and because Umbral Glaive is getting nerfed next patch, so the actual vision passive where you can one-shot wards, this is going up by 5 seconds, so Glaive becomes less viable, Gore Drinker getting buffed, so it's almost like we're switching around Graves' identity back to being a sustained champion rather than just one-shotting people. And even though this Gore Drinker setup hasn't been played that much, it actually has over a 70% win rate, and that's at the highest level of the game. So if that's the case, it will definitely work in lower elos, so you should definitely think about giving this a try in 12.11. Now moving on, let's talk about one tank champion who's going to be frothing 12.11, this being Tahm Kench. So for Tahm Kench in 12.11, you are actually getting buffs. So your passives on hit damage, this is increasing based off your bonus HP. Crazy, it's going from 2.5% to 4%, and then your Q's base heal is actually increasing at later ranks, and your ultimate shield is also increasing by 150 at rank 1 to 50 at rank 3. So a bit more impactful in the early game. So whether you're playing Kench in the top lane, or whether you're playing Kench in the bot lane with a Senna, or even as a support, he is going to be so much better. But to be honest, I think he'll be better as an AD carry with a fasting Senna, or as a tank in the top lane, because the tank items are getting buffed that Tahm Kench would be interested in. So Balmy Cinder is going down to 1,000 gold. That's a 100 gold decrease, really good, so you'll be hitting this spike earlier. And then Frostfire Gauntlet, Turbo Kentank, and Sunfire Aegis, depending on what you want to actually build, the HP in these items all up by 100. This is insane for Tahm Kench, and remember, the bonus HP in your passive, that's what it's working off. That is what this is buffing. And then we also have other tank items that are getting buffed, so Randuin's getting more armor, Spirit Visage and Abyssal Mask, more magic resist, and for the latter, the magic resist per enemy, so in those team fights going up by 2. Zeke's Convergence armor is going up by 10 if you're playing support Tahm Kench. Knight's Vow, the ability haste, this is getting doubled, so it's going to be an insane patch 12.11 for Tahm Kench, so watch out for the Toad next patch. Now the next champion we're going to talk about, kind of similar to Tahm Kench, because Nunu is going to benefit greatly from all of those item buffs I just talked about. So to Balmy Cinder, to Sunfire Aegis, he is going to love them, and just like Tahm Kench, Nunu's actually getting some pretty big buffs himself as well. So the non-champ healing on your Q, this is increasing based off your AP and bonus HP. In fact, the bonus HP is going from 6% to 10%. Really good if you're going tank Nunu, so if you're healing off jungle monsters or minions, this just means you're not going to die as much. But if you decide to use your Q on a champion, well, the healing from this is also increasing from 42% of your AP to 50 34%, but for your bonus HP, it's going from 3.6% to 6%. So close to double for both of these types of healing. This is insane for tank Nunu. But it probably won't do too much for the AP variant just because Nunu is an AP champion, very bursty, and because of the durability, the shields, and the peeling in the game at the moment, probably way too difficult to make work in 12-11 as well. But tank Nunu, going to be insane. Definitely give it a try. Now, another challenger career build I want you guys to know about before heading into 12-11, and you can test it out right now, is actually going first strike Ezreal. So the page you see on your screen now, pair this with attack speed, adaptive force, an arm, or a magic resist for your minor runes, depending on the matchup in the bot lane. But this setup works so well because it's scaling, right? First strike giving you gold, very easy to proc as well as Ezreal, because most of the time, whether it's from your mystic shot or your ultimate, you're getting the first bit of damage in a trade, in a team fight, whatever it may be, and then taking treasure hunter and also eyeball collection. That's what this setup is. It's all about scaling. So getting Trinity Force, getting Mirror Mana, whatever items you're getting, it's going to accelerate that process. And Ezreal, generally speaking, with other builds and other rune pages, doesn't do that well. Kind of like what I was saying for Graves and Lethality Graves, but with this rune page, he has over a 53% win rate in Korean Challenger, and I think it would work in any elo, especially lower elos, because games will typically last longer, which is what this rune page is built for. Now, another AD carry that I'm going to include on this countdown, guys, that might surprise some of you, this is Varus, however you want to say it. And for Varus at the moment, because the bot lane is very peely and it's attack speed based with lethal tempo, and by the way, oh, also forgot to mention this, lethal tempo, the changes or the nerfs, so the reduction in attack speed, these are not actually hitting the Rift in 12-11. There was an announcement today on Twitter, so for those of you playing Kog'Maw, Zeri, Varus, Ashe, you should be very happy about that, and that's also why Varus is on this countdown, because I think the nerfs may have made him a little bit mediocre, but now that they're staying, I think he's low-key broken and underrated. And more in terms of 12-11 for Varus, because Blade of the Ruined King is getting buffed, and you can see that in Challenger, going Blade of the Ruined King followed by Ginsu's Rage Blade, super good win rate, even though it's only from a few matches, I understand, but the build works, that's the point. And also, if you want to be super greedy, you can go Treasure Hunter in your runes, because that's going to accelerate your scaling, and because of the durability meta really suits Varus, because no longer can he get one shot 24/7. It's harder to kill him, hopefully as well if you have a Lulu or a Renata or something like that next to you, maybe a Karma, you're going to survive a lot more and actually get to the max tempo stacks and deal a ton of DPS, so think about Varus as well. Now, ahead of Varus staying in the bot lane, got to talk about Rakan, because Rakan is getting some big buffs in 12-11. So your Q's healing going from 18 to 90 to 30 to 115. Your W's cooldown, which is the ability you're maxing first, is going from 18 to 12 seconds to 16 to 10 seconds. This is going to be super impactful because that is your make or break ability. Also, your E's mana, the cost of this is getting reduced, especially in the late game, and your E's base shield, this is also increasing by 15 at each rank. So Rakan, Q, W, and E, everything getting buffed here, and he might not be the most amazing champ in 12.10, but I think this is going to make him more than viable in 12.11. Now, we're going to stay with the support theme here, but we're actually going to head to the mid lane because Seraphine, as a mid laner, is really flying under the radar. Now, I understand that Liandry's is getting nerfed next patch in terms of the base burn damage, and that is one reason why Seraphine is good, but really the power from Liandry's comes from the ability haste it's giving you, and it will still be good against champions with a lot of HP, which will be the case in 12-11, so it's still going to maintain its value. Just make sure you pair Liandry's with cooldown boots and then get an Archangel Staff, and you can start Tear of the Goddess, because there's a lot less chance of you dying in the mid lane in the first 5-6 levels because of the durability meta. Just make sure you're maxing Q into W, then into your E, and by the time team fights start happening, because of all the ability haste you'll be having, not only will you be healing your teammates, protecting your hyper carry AD carry, but you'll also be dealing decent damage because of the tick damage from Liandry's and the AP you get from the rest of your items. So Seraphine is also one to consider, and that's why she's on the countdown. Now, staying in the mid lane for the next pick, this one might surprise some of you, and this is Talon. And you guys might be expecting Lethality Talon to be mentioned, but the fact is this, guys, in 12-11, just like I told you earlier about the lethal tempo changes, the lethality changes to all of the items bar Umbral Glaive, these are not going to hit in 12-11. So all of the extra lethality you are going to get, which was 4 in Eclipse, Prowler's Claw, Duskblade, no more. So why on earth is Talon on the Loki Broken Champions countdown? Well, the reason for this is because of Gore Drinker Conqueror Talon. It's kind of similar to Graves. We're going for a sustained setup which has a super high success rate in high reloads. And why would this not work in lower elos? Because games are going to last longer, you're going to get to Conqueror stacks more often, so it will 100% work regardless of what rank you are in. And then when you follow this with a Ghost Blade, and then especially a Black Cleaver, and remember, because tanks and bruisers are going to be very popular in 12-11, just like they are now, Black Cleaver, the armor shred, super important to get. Just make sure in the mid lane, guys, you are taking a minion dematerializer, because wave clear is very important. So against these stronger mages in the durability meta, we want to clear minion waves and not be sitting under our tower the whole game. We want to be able to shove ourselves and then roam around the map. And because of the TP change at the start of the season, which is still here, for Talon, who is such a good roamer, you can get to those fights a lot quicker. So this unique Talon setup is another one of the underrated builds and champs. Now, hopefully this one will surprise a lot of you as well. This is Azir, the Emperor of Shurima, in the top lane. So in the mid lane, Azir is having a lot of fun at the moment because of the new meta, right? He's a DPS champion, and because there's less burst in the game, Azir is going to have a lot more fun. But in the top lane, the funny thing is, it's probably more free for you to actually scale and hit the mid to late game without dying 5 to 10 times. And let me put it this way, in Challenger at the moment, Azir has a 51% win rate in the mid lane, that is. In the top lane, a 53% win rate. So there is definitely something to be said about this. The only bad thing is if you're going Riftmaker as your mythic, this is getting nerfed next patch, so 10 AP is getting removed from the item. But here's the thing, guys, 10 AP, does it really matter that much? No, right? You're still going to have the DPS, you're still going to reach max Conqueror stacks, you're still going to benefit from Demonic Embrace once you build this. And one intriguing thing here is that lots of Azir players in the top lane are not taking Flash, because you have your E, of course, so if you are playing this, just make sure you have a W ready and an E in case you get ganked or jumped on. But taking Exhaust or Ignite, it really cucks the enemy champion. It really shortens their windows of opportunity to jump onto you and makes the lane so much more free. So Azir, in my opinion anyway, in the top lane, might be the most low-key broken champ for 12-11, and you guys can try it in 12.10 as well. So those were the 10 most low-key broken champions, guys, for 12-11. Let me know in the comment section if you actually play any of these or the setups we recommended, and if you did enjoy the countdown, please remember to leave a like down below so you let us know. And until tomorrow's Season 12 upload, this has been Coach. Peace.